Hello everyone, welcome to Sedawa's Serenity. I'm Sedawa, and I'm on a journey to find tranquility in this chaotic world. So come along, and let's embrace the universe together. So today is May 2nd, 2024. It is the month of mental health awareness, it's Women's Health Care, and Mother's Day is also coming up. So as a disclaimer, might be a trigger for some people. I'm going to talk about some heavy topics related to motherhood or parenthood. So just a fair warning to everyone before we continue that there may be some triggers in this episode. Thank you. So I want to start with the question of the week that I posted on Instagram. The question is, what advice would you give a first-time parent? And I did have some responses. First being, get used to the mess. It's 100% true, guys. If there's anything that I wish I could have back is a clean house or even somewhat organization in this house. But a mess with these toys and the chaos in my home, 99% of the time there's a mess here. The next response is 2 zippers, onesies, establish boundaries, and use baby registry discounts on Amazon. I definitely recommend this. Zipper onesies are a lifesaver. Those little buttons when you're so tired as a new mom in the middle of the night is so frustrating. I cannot tell you guys how many times I've missed a button, and it was just so annoying to me personally. I don't like the button ones. They're such cute outfits and they look good in theory, but those buttons are just horrible. Zipper onesies all the way. Establishing boundaries, yes. Oh my goodness, you have to let people know what your boundaries are, because as a new mom you already have all this anxiety built up in you of, am I being a good mom? And there's a lot of mom guilt going on, the crying, etc. Sometimes even people, when they would hold my baby, I would just be, okay, can you give him back? Or anytime you even hear someone, oh, they have the sniffle, but it's okay. Absolutely not. It's definitely a personal decision to let people close to your baby. But me, I right away establish that boundary. Please, no, if you're sniffling, please stay away from me. Stay away from the baby. I'm the one that has to deal with him at the end of the day. So please definitely establish boundaries when necessary. Baby registry discounts on Amazon. Those were always great. I loved my Amazon baby registry. Even people from far away, I do have friends and family members that don't live with me and in the state that I live in. And it was such a lifesaver when they would ask me, hey, like, what do you want? Instead of having so many people asking me, what do I want? There's the baby registry. This is what's not been bought. Then it gives you the discount afterwards. So that's always great. Another response I had was, every child is different and hits milestones differently. 100% agree. Every baby is not the same. I have 2 boys, 2 very young boys, and they met their milestones very differently from each other, and it was so nerve-wracking for me it's so hard for me to not compare the two, where one baby walked later, this one walked early, this one's talking, this one's not talking. It's hard. And it's so easy to compare to other people's kids too, where you have your mom friends and they tell you, oh, hey, my kid is doing this and my kid is doing that, and oh, is my child not typical, or that they're not doing that? So a lot of that is definitely brought on upon every child's different. Every child's unique. Your child's unique. We're not going to have the same child. So I definitely agree with this. So another response I have is, make sure your life is in order, eating good, working out consistently, and financially be first, so be stable. This is definitely something I tend to tell people as well when they ask me, hey, like, how did you know you were ready? I don't know if there's a point where you say, okay, I'm ready, and you jump in. That's totally a personal decision. But if I had a starting point, it was most definitely make sure my life was in order. If you're eating well, have a workout routine, try to keep it up, but it's not something you're obligated to do. And be financially stable. Honestly, there's no perfect time to have a baby. Sometimes it happens and you're dealt with the cards of life and how the universe brings about having a child. I just always say it's so important. Healthy baby, healthy parents, and be emotionally there for each other, because having a child is not for the weak. All right, so moving on. As a mom, a lot of safe places tend to become smaller, and suddenly there's these tiny human beings, these little pieces of your hearts running around. We love them so much. They take up all the space, and it just leaves so little room for our own thoughts. Like I said earlier, I have 2 boys. One is turning 6, and I have a 3-year-old. And they're both on the spectrum. They're both diagnosed autism. And if anyone out there knows autism, spectrum is exactly what it means. It is a spectrum. No child is going to be the exact same when they're on a spectrum. My 6-year-old, he is non-speaking. He doesn't have full-on words, and he tends to communicate with body language, sometimes with eye contact, a little bit of sign language, and he does have a communication device. My 3-year-old now jumped from having no words to 100 words after we put him in an ABA program that we found through our insurance. So when they were both diagnosed, they both received early intervention services and, speech, occupational, physical therapy. People were in and out of my house all day. And I cannot tell you guys how although grateful for these free services that are provided, I was overwhelmed having people inside my home. If anyone personally knows me, I am not the biggest fan of having people in my house. And so having people come in and out, having to make sure that the house looks nice, and making sure, put the cats away, and are you allergic to cats? Are you comfortable? It was a challenge for me personally. The schedule was crazy. I was still working. I was going to school. I was trying to raise a neurodivergent child, and it was overwhelming. The pandemic hit, as you all know, 2020. That's when my older son was diagnosed. I was then later found out I was pregnant. It was, oh man, when I think back to that, I was in survival mode. I was definitely in survival mode during those times. And I'm so glad I was able to survive that and get through it the way that I did. And just watching my kids grow and learn from all these services has been a blessing for me. So I'm thankful to the universe for that. I can't tell you guys how hard it was getting the diagnosis. Yes, I felt relief. There was relief in that, to think back and remember all those concerns I had. He was meeting his physical milestones, but he wasn't talking. He started avoiding eye contact, and just, I'm here waiting for him to form sentences, and he's 18 months. Okay, when is he gonna start talking? Or maybe later. It's okay. Boys, when they're bilingual, they tell you all these things. Oh, just wait. Getting the diagnosis was a relief, but at the same time, there's this piece of me where I grieved. I grieved all the what ifs. I grieved the future life he was gonna have. And although this is a beautiful world we live in, we all know there's a cruel side of things. There's a darkness that we don't wish would touch our children. But unfortunately, we, as their parent, not only do we have this need to protect them from everything, we also just wish they didn't have to witness this cruel world. After much grieving, I eventually came to the point where I accepted the diagnosis and went headstrong into these services. I had the early intervention, then now he's got his IEP, which is an individual plan for him in school. He has thrived in a very structured environment, so I'm thankful for that. Then when his brother was diagnosed, still kind of devastating, but this time I knew what to do. I was more confident as a mom and as an advocate, as someone who works in this field already currently, to have the resources to move forward, and I was a bit more resilient this time around. But that doesn't come without difficulties. Being people that we are emotionally intelligent, that we communicate and speak using our words, even our hands, our body language. It's very difficult, I would say, with my older son to find that connection sometimes where, what is he trying to tell me? And it's always this emotional exhaustion where, okay, like, what does he want? What is he asking of me? So there's a lot of frustration on both sides, communication wise, which is why every time I'm asked what is my main goal for him and what is something I'm interested, it's communicating, whether it be through a message, sign language. Now that he has the communication device that I'm so grateful for, I want to connect with my son. I think as a mom, that's just something, or as a parent even, we all want. We want to be able to communicate with our kids and have open communication and be able to understand them. And it's just something, a very emotional topic for me, as you can tell. So obviously with his little brother and just him talking, just from hello to mama to his favorite things, from cars to ball, and him being able to ask to eat, it was tears practically every time. He's been in this program for a year now, and to go from no words to 100 words is amazing. They also kind of avoid each other. Well, they avoided each other at first. Now, thankfully, as siblings, they do fight. But they also play together. And each of them have their own boundaries where one will say no. But as a mom and witnessing them grow, I love being able to see my son's bonds and bonds over simple things, just as even sitting next to each other, which is something they couldn't even do before. So, a question that I get a lot. Will I have more kids? I'm not sure. It's already a lot to deal with now, and I think that's a personal decision that me and my husband Hiro will make in the future. And whether that be to have another child or to not have a child, I feel like as long as we make that decision together, I'll be happy with any outcome that we decide. So a lot of the things I want to talk about in parenthood would be, okay, what changed for me as a parent? When I became a parent, I would say is learning what unconditional love is. When you have that baby in your arms, it's amazing what changes in that moment. Not only are you overwhelmed with the feeling of love, but you're also navigating like oh my goodness, this is mine. This is my life now. And what now? Right? You have this baby, and the hospital's like, all right, you're a parent now. Go home. That's already overwhelming enough. I'm thankful to have the village that I have right now, where I do have my mom friends. I have my own mom to navigate this. I have my grandmother and some aunts and some cousins. Even if they're not physically here with me, I am very grateful to have many women in my life who somewhat understand this journey. I'm also thankful to Hiro, my husband, who is very involved with the kids and supports me emotionally when I'm drained and frustrated, and even talking about the difficulties of them being on the spectrum. Another thing is the nurturing and support side of things, where you're their emotional, physical, and mental support. You're raising your child to be capable adults, right? And that's a scary notion. It's a scary thought. You're raising this small baby, and then they become toddlers, and let me tell you, the toddler stage, not it. I do not recommend. And then, you're dealing with all these big emotions, and them crying about things that absolutely sometimes don't make a lot of sense. That could be confusing within itself. But I look forward to every milestone, every step. I want to be present in every step of the way. And I'm thankful to be a part of their lives and them welcoming me into their world. Because sometimes you see that. You see their world. You see sort of their thought process. And when you make that connection with them, it's so overwhelming. And there's a lot of love in it. And a feedback that I get from a lot of their providers, from the teachers and therapists, is how loving my children are. It's not something that's seen a lot in children in the spectrum, according to them, because I haven't had a lot of experiences with individuals on the spectrum, is they don't tend to show a lot of affection. They have their own way of loving, their own way, as we do all. We're all unique. We show love differently. We have different love languages. However, they find that my boys are very sweet, they tend to adapt pretty well on a good day. Because on a bad day, can't even start there. So I'm very glad for that. Another thing that motherhood has taught me is the resilience of mothers. Our resilience is so amazing. We juggle work, family, personal needs, and just so many roles and responsibilities. It's not until you really become a parent, mom, that you realize, oh man, now I'm a nurse. I am also a teacher. I am the manager of this family. Now I manage people's schedules and what do they eat. I also provide all kinds of services. It's something that I really took on and understood from the moment I had them that was going to be a role that I fill. But again, so thankful that I have a very supportive husband. Whenever I'm sick, he does his best. Guys, I admit, he really does and tries his best. He follows the directions I give him. He's a lot more patient than I am with the boys, because I am quick to be like, no. And sometimes raise my voice. I don't exactly yell, but I do raise my voice a little bit quicker than my husband does. And he sometimes tells me like, hey, if you need a timeout, and I'm like, I definitely do, please. But just juggling so much between their schedules is tiring. It's exhausting. A lot of the times people who have come over and it's on a weekday have seen the craziness that is my life, that the moment I open my eyes at 7 o'clock in the morning till the last child falls asleep, which can range between 8:30 to 10 p.m., my life does not stop. And driving them back and forth, oh, that's another thing. You realize after a while, you're also a chauffeur. And it's, if you have a car, if you have a vehicle, you become a chauffeur for these kids. You taking them on appointments and taking them to their scheduled therapy sessions or school. I have put so many miles on my car. I can't even tell you guys. Another thing about moms, I would say, is the selflessness that we have. We prioritize our child's well-being over our own. A lot of the times we tend to really get into this role of being a mom, and we forget that underneath that mom role there is, let's just say, like, there's a me. I'm not just mom, I'm also Sarwa. And it's very, very easy to forget that sometimes, and I've made it a priority that I am not just a mom, I'm also a wife, I am also a daughter, I am a friend, and I am Sarwa. I am still the same person I was before. I just have another role. I grew into another role that I'm grateful to have. But again, motherhood is not for the weak. And I can say that 1,000%. So I'm very, very glad that I have so much support, but at the same time, there's days, guys, there's days that I wake up with this so much mom guilt with how I handled yesterday. Like, how could I handle that better? How could I have been a better mom? And that tends to happen a lot for me, where I'm like, oh, maybe I raised my voice a little yesterday. Maybe I should have given them that extra cookie or that juice that they wanted, or if they fell or got hurt, was I not paying attention to them? It's so easy to go there, and honestly, that's part of the journey. Part of the journey is they fall, they get hurt, but you're there to catch them, to help them back up when they fall. It's so important to remember, and as a reminder that we are human beings and we make mistakes. That's something I've had to learn myself, and it's hard. It's still hard every day. It's a struggle every day. Mom guilt is totally real. Another thing I would want to address is how we can address empowering mothers. Even though it provides a sense of purpose and fulfillment, it's a lot to navigate a lot of the challenges of maintaining that personal identity. Like I said, I know I'm a mom, but I am also Sarwa. I have a lot of hobbies. This is something that I will talk about or have mentioned, where I also game, I write, I now do a podcast. Thank you for listening. I do have friends. I try to keep a social circle. I have an inner circle. My family members. I try to, break myself up in little pieces and, try to find time to have dates with my husband and all this kind of stuff. It's so hard to manage the schedule I already have, but I still try to maintain my personal identity, things that I do for me. I like watching anime. I like watching my Asian dramas. It's very important to me to keep myself here, as they say. Many people will tell you who know me personally that it's interesting that I don't just talk about my kids. I like having different conversation. I like talking about anything that's out. I love tech. I love reading, and it's so easy for me to not talk about my kids. I already have other people I can talk about my kids with. So a lot of the times, if I have someone with me or hanging out with someone, I try to catch up on their life and give them that personal attention that they need, because I like to be there for my friends and my family members. And I always try to remember to also self-care. That's also very important, guys. If you're a mom, a parent, or a caretaker, guardian, very important to self-care. Self-care is crucial in these times where it's so uncertain, it's so hard to just keep our mental health together. So, as I continue to discuss, mothers, parents, everyone, we serve as role models for our children. A lot of the times we're shaping their values, their beliefs, and behaviors through a lot of our actions and through our words. We're the first role models that they have, right? A lot of the words, our teachings, our beliefs get instilled very early on with them. And I don't know if any of this happened to you guys where, even when I moved out, and I was about 20 years old when I moved in with my now husband, I remember things that my parents would tell me. Like, I would hear a little voice in my head that was my mom, or another little voice that was my dad, where they'll tell me things like, how do I say? I grew up in a Hispanic home, by the way, and a lot of the times, even just to go out was an issue. Because, oh, you're a girl, you going out by yourself and whatever. They didn't like when I went to concerts or by myself on the train or anything like that. So even just going out, I would hear kind of like their voice in my head, like, oh, what are you doing out? You're out so late, and aren't you going to go home? It took a while to let Serwa's voice come through, as they say. My husband understands that I grew up sort of in a strict household. My parents were great parents, and I'm grateful for them. Very loving, still married to this day, so shout out to them. But as parents, they had their pros and their cons. One of them being just that just because I was the oldest and I was a female, they were pretty strict, and I had to sort of unlearn a lot of that behavior, a lot of those voices in my head telling me not to do anything because my duty was to either my home or to not do anything quote unquote weird. So even words that hurt, I find that I remember a lot of the bad, I would say, growing up. Of course I do remember the good as well, but bad memories tend to stay more than the good ones, and they can overshadow the good side of our childhood. So even though it's very difficult, sometimes I tell people you got to take a deep breath before speaking, because children will remember. You'll be surprised to learn how far back they can remember, but I can remember very bits and pieces of when I was 2 years old. I don't know how. Even 1 years old, very, very vaguely remember when I was an only child. My brother was born when I was 2 years old, so it's a very vague memory of my mother being pregnant. It's like very bits and pieces. Sometimes I even chalked it up to it being a dream, but when I described to my mom the memory, she said that it's insane how I remember the full-on layout of an apartment that we lived while she was pregnant with my brothers. I remember when he was born and, you know, seeing him in the hospital and everything. So again, do not doubt a child's memory. Do not doubt what they can remember. And even if they do remember those moments, heal together. I'm sure my sons will grow up and tell me, like, hey mom, you know, remember that one day that you yelled at us and told us this or anything. I'm ready for that. And I just hope that I can raise them to be functioning adults. I hope to unlearn any toxic behaviors and for them to be independent. I want them to be happy. I want them to be successful. I want to share the love I have for them with others and welcome them to my family. Any friends, anyone that they love and consider their inner circle, I want to welcome them in my home. Remember, guys, this is a podcast about navigating a chaotic world and embracing the universe. So I thank you all for being here and listening. All right, so I want to give you guys a recommendation. It's an anime that I'm recommending. It's one of my favorite animes of all time, called Fruit Basket. It follows a girl named Toru Honda, who in the wake of her mother's death finds a home with the Soma family, and she discovers that some of the members of the family are part of the 13 zodiacs. I love this anime, and the reason why I'm recommending it is because it does follow the teachings of her mom who passed away. Again, she was a teenager, I'm gonna say, in the series, where her mom passes away, but she remembers all the teachings and she passes on that love, that energy, and everything that her mom taught her before she passed away to the Soma family, who are traumatized by their upbringing with their family. And so definitely recommend. It's very heartwarming. There's a lot of character development, 3 seasons. There's an old version of it and then there's the new version of it. I personally prefer the newer one because of the animation. Oh well. So go watch it. Let me know what you guys think. Alright, so quote I'm gonna pick out here. This is from Jim Carrey, and it says, "So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it, please." It's a great way to end the podcast. So again, I want to thank you all for listening and for giving me feedback. I always appreciate my supporters. I appreciate all the feedback you guys give me, all the love and all the little hearts, and responding to my questions of the week. So bear with me. I will keep posting the episodes every Thursday, so feel free to comment, follow, support this podcast. At the moment, I do have my podcast streaming in other services such as Spotify, Listen Note. I'm working on Apple Podcasts, guys. This is new to me. But your support means so much to me. So with that said, thank you all for tuning in. Settle Serenity. Keep seeking peace in every moment. And until next time, stay serene. Bye.